directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city.
President Trump reacting to the news of 2 National Guard troops attacked in Washington, D.C. Trump calling the shooting a crime against the entire nation. And now, as you heard, he's sending hundreds more National Guard troops to the district. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us for K2 News at 11, everyone. I'm Barry Mangold. We have a lot to get to tonight as we continue to unpack the aftermath of this D.C. shooting. Today, we're learning more about the 2 victims. 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom and 24-year-old Andrew Wolf were shot while in uniform yesterday, just blocks away from the White House. Authorities confirm Beckstrom died in the hospital. Wolf remains in critical condition. The suspected gunman, who is also in the hospital, faces multiple charges, including 3 counts of assault with intent to kill. The FBI says it's investigating this as an act of terrorism. And CIA Director John Ratcliffe confirming today that the suspect, 29-year-old Afghan national Manala Lakwanal, worked with the CIA to support U.S. military units in Afghanistan. He initially came to the U.S. under humanitarian parole as part of the Biden initiative called Operation Allies Welcome. Once in the U.S., he settled in Washington state with his wife and 5 kids. In 2024, he applied for asylum to remain in the U.S., which the Trump administration granted in April of this year. And the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services halts Afghan nationals requests following that shooting in D.C. In a post on X, you can see the agency announced effective immediately all requests from Afghan nationals have been stopped indefinitely pending further review of security protocols. The USCIS says the protection and safety of Americans continue to be a main focus. Meanwhile, tonight, one local Afghan nonprofit, I should say, says the Trump administration's actions could impact our local economy, and they fear Afghan lives could be at risk. K2's Victor Park joins us live now after talking to the leader of that nonprofit. Victor.
That's right, and good evening, Barry. You know, some estimate there are up to 10,000 Afghan refugees here in the Portland area, and the leader of that nonprofit says many of them are now living in fear. Following the shooting of 2 National Guard troops, President Trump ordering a review of all Afghan nationals in the U.S.
We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden.
The vetting process for these Afghans is pretty extensive.
Yahya Haqiqi is the president of Afghan Support, a local nonprofit helping refugees settle into the Portland metro.
We have folks that have been citizens here for a really, really long time.
The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service announcing it stopped all Afghan immigration applications pending further review of security and vetting protocols. According to authorities, the suspect was one of 76,000 Afghan refugees settled in the U.S. in 2021 after a chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. Haqiqi says up to 10,000 Afghan refugees are in the Portland metro.
These folks are doctors, they're engineers, they're teachers, police officers, and across the nations we have folks that are in the Army.
He says the federal government's move could have a profound impact to the local economy.
Instead of these folks giving back to this community through the wages that they earn, helping the GDP, it puts them out of job and puts stress on the community.
What may be even more surprising is how he says the Afghan community is living in fear.
This also gives an opportunities to folks that are on the fringe, that have been waiting, that are filled with hate, to do attacks. I would not be surprised if there's an increase in race-based or ethnicity-based hate, hateful attacks that happen over the next couple of weeks or months because of this type of thing.
And Haqiqi says the Afghan community stands with the families of those 2 National Guard troops who were shot, condemns the violent act, and adds that the actions of one person do not define the whole community. At the live desk, I'm Victor Park, K2 News.
All right, good perspective, Victor. Thank you. And we'll be sure to continue following this story, and we'll bring you any updates as we learn more about the suspect and the status of the other victim who was shot. Later on in this show, we will go to Bellingham, Washington, where the suspect was from and how his neighbors are reacting tonight. This is new tonight. We are continuing our coverage on the man, accused of shooting the 2 National Guard soldiers in Washington, D.C. yesterday. Residents of one Washington state apartment complex awoke to a frightening scene Thanksgiving morning. FBI agents kicking in their doors. They searched a unit believed to have been occupied by that suspect. Jeremy Harris reports from our Seattle sister station.
Out of nowhere, boom, and I go run to my window and I look and guns drawn.
A pre-dawn raid at this Bellingham apartment complex was the first sign many here knew their neighbor was the main suspect in the shooting of 2 National Guard members in Washington, D.C.
I'm shocked because you don't know who your neighbors are.
Several people here said they had seen Ramanullah Lakanwal and his family, but nobody seemed to know them well.
Never really talked to any of them except the kids, telling the kids to quit running through the hallways and quit breaking stuff.
Father had a very mean look, like people were like beneath him, you know, like don't look at me, don't talk to me, you know. He had just one of those kind of personalities.
He resided in Bellingham, Washington with his wife and we believe 5 children.
According to investigators, Lakanwal settled in Bellingham as a refugee from Afghanistan 4 years ago.
What we know about him is that he drove his vehicle across country from the state of Washington with the intended target of coming to our nation's capital.
Local, state, and federal court records don't show any criminal history before his arrest this week in Washington, D.C.
This was not just an attack. It was a direct challenge to law and order in our nation's capital. And the individual will be made fully accountable.
Jeremy Harris reporting there. Similar search warrants connected to the case were also executed in Washington, D.C. and San Diego.